Supergirl series premiere. This was a pretty interesting first episode for the show. Like, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it wasn't like the most amazing thing ever. And I think a part of that is because, of course, it gets compared to the other superhero shows on TV, all of which are DC based outside of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so pretty much it's being compared to its own universe shows. And it was fun to watch, but it was kind of like it was sort of an odd back and forth through, like, when she wasn't Supergirl, the life that Kara was kind of dealing with was just like it was oddly simple. Like it had some dynamic moments to it, like her finding out that her sister was actually like this secret agent basically, and we get like an adult Jimmy Olsen, so he's already gone through being like the young kid working with Clark Kent, and he knows Superman. I don't. They don't really say. So I'm still wondering if he knows um, Clark's like identity in this universe and how they're kind of doing things. But I like some of the stuff that they're playing around with, like the Phantom Zone stuff. That I think is actually really cool. I like that idea that Kara was trapped in the Phantom Zone after Krypton exploded, but she somehow broke free. I'm hoping we get an answer to that because I've never heard of the Phantom Zone just opening up before. So I feel like there has to be some outside force that we don't know about just yet. It wasn't just like, oh, the Phantom Zone just opened up for no reason. I feel like there would have to have been some sort of outside force because it just doesn't work that way. Not from what I know. I could be wrong. There's it's the comic book universe. It could be so many different explanations as to how it could have happened. But I've never heard of the Phantom Zone just opening up. I never, like how they even explain how she got in it. I didn't know that could even happen. She was like, my ship just got hit by a shockwave and I flew into the Phantom Zone. I was like, I didn't know that could even happen. I really thought you had to be put there um, using some sort of object or something. But she was just like, tossed into like a portal that was like a couple of 100 miles from the planet, and that was it. And she was in the Phantom Zone for a long time. So that was pretty interesting. And then she breaks out, and then it's like, okay, so she was still a kid. Superman was already Superman. Like we've known who he was for a while, and he places her with her alternate family, her Earth family, and that was kind of cool. And when they showed the family, that was pretty sweet because I didn't know that they were doing that. So Dean Cain, who of course is Superman, and Lois and Clark is in there, and I don't know the woman's name, but she was Supergirl, I believe, in the old films. So, or I guess the one film, the Supergirl film, that came out like after the Superman movies. So that was really cool because I had no idea they were doing that because they weren't in the trailer, and honestly, I wasn't looking up any info for the show. So I thought that was pretty sweet. I was like, oh, that's really cool that they did that. So her parents are both Superman and Supergirl, and that's just pretty cool. So, after we get that, we get a little backstory and stuff. We skip time. She's an adult, and that's when it's kind of simple to me. Like I didn't hate it, but I don't know. I guess with all the other superhero shows, it's like they're superheroes and they aren't doing the whole hiding their identity thing anymore. And even with Arrow, it was a little different. Like with this, it's like she's not even doing it like the Superman way. Like she kind of is in most aspects because it's almost exactly the same. Where she's working at a news magazine and she's hiding her identity basically with glasses. With glasses, that really is it. With glasses, and maybe she changed her hairstyle like after she did that the first time. But it's kind of normal. Like I like the boss. I like how just randomly mean she is to everyone. I think it's kind of funny, but I don't know. Something about it just seems so simple. I like that it changed after that, where she told the one guy on her job. And, of course, we find out that Jimmy knew by the end of the episode, of course, because he knew Superman. And I was wondering that after she did it, I was like, he knows, doesn't he? Like, wouldn't he know that it's her? Like, I thought he would just figure it out because maybe he'd realize how stupid, like, glasses don't work. I thought that, honestly, that's what would happen. But he knew from the beginning, so that was pretty cool. And the sort of back and forth with Kara being like, I need to do this or I can't do this because she was excited to do it like when she saved the plane, which I thought was a pretty cool scene. I liked the way that looked. I liked a lot of the flying in this because we didn't see, we don't see that much, but she used flying a lot in this. Like even during the fight, she used flying just in little simple ways. So I actually thought that was really cool. Like I enjoyed that during the in-fight scene, and I enjoyed it. Well, when she was flying to catch the plane, she was just naturally flying, so that wasn't insanely special. But I like the first scene where she's like getting back into flying because she hadn't done it in so long, so it takes her a couple of leaps. I thought that looked cool, and that was in the trailer as well. But I still thought that was a really cool scene where she has to kind of get back into her old ways because she hasn't really used her powers in too long. Like at least not flying. She's probably used like X-ray vision and things like that. So I thought that was a nice little scene. It was very quick because she only did like 2 leaps and then she was just flying. But excuse me, it looked really cool. I enjoyed that. The way she saved the plane I thought was pretty cool. Just how they did it visually, where she has to like crush the bottom of the plane and like really take hold of it to turn it sideways. So I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that looked sweet. You got a million pictures, of course, and it's like low res. Everyone has HD cameras on their phone, but every picture is just like low res. So maybe everybody had like an Android like me, because if you wiggle, it's like super blurry and you got nothing. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But no one gets a clear picture until the end of the episode, where Jimmy somehow, I'm assuming he didn't take the picture, because we would have seen if Jimmy was in there, they would have had that as a scene in the episode. But he knew someone that got a picture, so we got a picture of her during like the bank robbery scene. And they don't really focus on the picture, but when they show it a little bit, it's basically her walking straight towards the camera, which I thought was funny. It wasn't even like they didn't even really attempt to do like what an actual picture would look like, where it's from the side or some weird angle. It was like straight on, right, and she was straight in the middle of that picture, and I just thought that was kind of funny. Like she was walking right at the camera, but it was pretty cool. Like we got to see her use her powers. Most of the scenes, pretty much every scene we saw was from the trailer. So her flying, crashing into like the dune or whatever. So we got that with her getting the cape, the little alternate costumes and all that stuff. And then like I said, the ending fight scene in the first fight that she had with the guy, I thought they were both pretty cool. The first one, she was just getting tossed around like the whole fight. She was just getting kicked through stuff, and it was just CG Supergirl flying through buildings and flying into pipes and everything. She kind of took every single attack in that very first fight. And the second one, she obviously fared a lot better because she won, but it still wasn't 100% easy. I love the ending because she used heat vision, and it looked way cooler than I've ever seen in anything. It looked cooler than it did, obviously, in the old movies, but it looked sweeter than it did in Smallville. It looked cooler than it did in, like, the Man of Steel movies. I don't even know if it was in Superman Returns. I don't know if he even used heat vision. But it looked really sweet with it being, like, blue. And they kind of make sense where, because for fire, for anyone who doesn't know that, if it's blue fire, it's even hotter than if it's just like orange, orange reddish fire. So I was like, that makes it a lot cooler, because it's like, it means her powers are so intense when she uses heat vision that the lasers come out blue because they're even hotter. If that's how it works. I mean, it's lasers and not fire, so it probably doesn't relate. But that's what I saw it as, and I was like, that visually, that just looks really cool compared to the normal red heat vision we see. So I love that. I like the way that it ended, and she beats the guy, and he actually kills himself, and then we get to see who our main enemy is going to be. And initially it seemed like it was going to be Zod, because they say General, which I think we all think the same thing when that happens. But it turns out that it is not going to end up being Zod. It's actually going to be Kara's aunt. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's actually a pretty cool concept, where we have this new villain, also from the Phantom Zone, but totally different villain, a bunch of different villains, because they came down in this giant construct, which, I don't know if any of you guys watched the show The 100, but it totally made me think of that, because it was just like in the forest, it was this giant thing that just crashed down. But we have a ton of villains could easily come out of that. It could be like hundreds of villains. That thing was huge. And we had like one guy show up in this episode, but we have the General, who's Kara's aunt, and we have like her subordinate. So we have a lot of people that Kara can go up against. And they had pictures of some of the people. Mostly they made them all look like aliens. There was like no one that even looked human a little bit in those pictures. Like the guy she fought looked human outside of like the spikes and stuff. But all the pictures they had when she first got to like the DEO, everything was like either the person's totally blue or totally red or really green or something. Like everything looked like it couldn't possibly pass for human. But the enemy she fought was just like, oh, that guy just wears a hat and he's human. So I thought that was kind of funny. So we're gonna get to see the more extreme versions of the aliens, and I'm looking forward to that because I want to see what these enemies can really do. I like this first enemy. I like the fact that he had a weapon that could cut a Kryptonian. I thought that was actually really cool, and it was basically just like an axe that heats up to an insane degree. So I thought that was actually pretty cool. I like the way the axe looked as well. Just the design of it was pretty sweet. But I think this was an okay first episode. I don't think it failed or anything like that. It just wasn't like the most exciting. And like I said, most of it, like oddly enough, like because the trailer was like 6 minutes, which obviously still doesn't technically show a lot from an hour long episode. But it did show like a lot of the big points. It showed like her first getting her costumes and her first going through being Supergirl and doing all that stuff. They didn't show like the very first time when she saved the plane. Not from what I remember, not the whole scene at least. But it showed like her jumping. We got to see the fights. We got to see her revealing to the guy at her job that she's Supergirl. We got to see like her first reaction with her sister and stuff like that. So a lot of the really big points of the episode were shown in that trailer that first came out a couple months back. So it's kind of like, man, I knew they showed a lot because it was a 6 minute long trailer, but when I was watching, it was like they really showed like all the important scenes when you think about it, because everything else was just like, well, we knew Jimmy Olsen was in it because that was at like the end of the trailer. We knew that he'd given her that box because that was in the trailer, which I forgot about until just now, just going through some of the scenes in the trailer. So, there was, a lot of stuff in this episode that was all like, and they were all like kind of the biggest moments, her revealing her identity to someone or her getting the blanket from Superman. I was like, okay, well, that's interesting how that works. But it was still a fun episode. I still enjoyed it. I kind of curious about what they're going to do with the lore of Superman in this universe. Obviously, it's not the Man of Steel stuff. It's closer to like the comic books, but at the same time it's not, because Superman uses the blanket that he was wrapped in as his cape, so I'm wondering how that worked. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, he gave that to Kara in this, but he has his own cape as well, so I don't know. I guess he just moved past it, like, I don't need this anymore, and he gave it to her. I don't know. But I like how they're doing the universe and how they're treating Supergirl as a threat. At least her aunt is, and she's like, she's not necessarily, nothing to this. Like, yes, Superman, of course, is a threat, but Supergirl could be a huge threat as well, and she might be a bigger threat, and, we kind of have to just wait and see why. But it seems like in the next episode, she already figures out, like, oh, my aunt is the main villain. So, looking forward to that. I enjoyed this first episode, and then, I wouldn't say I loved it, but I definitely enjoyed it. I think it has potential for sure. I think it was a nice start. Like I said, I certainly enjoyed some of the action and how we get to see a lot of the flying, because we don't really see that too often in the combat. And of course, for some other live action stuff that we've seen, it's either a huge big budget movie or it was Smallville, and they couldn't do the flying too much, and they did a little, but it wasn't our main character. Like, Kara was the one flying in Smallville until literally the last episode, of course. But I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing her kind of get even better as a fighter and stuff like that. But it was a good first episode. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, I want to know whether or not you guys are going to continue watching the show, because it's like our 4th or 5th DC show, I guess. I guess technically it's our 5th one, but we only have 4 because they canceled Constantine, which really blows. But I want to know if you guys are going to continue watching it. I know I will, because I didn't hate the show, so it's like, well, as long as I didn't completely just hate it, of course I'm going to keep watching it. But I want to know what you guys are going to do, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.